Hi there, I'm Angela and this is Friday Sews. Hi friends, welcome to the channel or welcome back and welcome to another episode of Friday Sews. If this is your first time here, I'm happy that you stopped in. And special shout out, hello and thank you to anyone who's on the live chat. That's always so much fun. I tend to do a live chat with almost all of my Friday Sews, which usually post on Friday evenings. 7 p.m. Eastern, or sometimes that varies a little bit, but I'll give a heads up if not. So hello to everyone in the live chat, and special thanks to Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room for creating the hashtag Friday Sews. And typically the Friday Sews series, which a lot of the sewing YouTubers do, are like a little recap of our week. What did we get done in the sewing room? How did life go? Things like that. For this Friday, at least for this channel, it's going to be a little bit of a different kind of Friday Sews. So just due to life circumstances and things like that and everything keeping me hopping, I have gotten zero sewing done in the past 2 weeks. So what do they say? Desperate times call for desperate measures. I am going to actually do some sewing as I chat with you guys on this Friday Sews. So I hope that that's enjoyable for you. If not, it's not something that I will do routinely. I feel like I could use this time to actually get some sewing done. Otherwise, I don't really have too much to share with you guys. So I'm going to work on my blue and pink flowery dress. It's Vogue V8996. I think that's it. And chat with you guys. So if you're ready, let's do it. So this is my workspace. This is pretty much the way it's looked for the last at least 2 weeks. So today we're going to make some progress. And just a heads up, this is not meant to be a sew along or instructional because I've already gotten a little ways into the construction of this. It's kind of just meant to be a little like hang out in my sewing room on Friday night while we chat, and maybe I'll get something done. I'm actually going to have to kind of refresh myself on where I left off. Don't you hate that? That's what I get for like pausing and then that pause turning into a big long stall. So I'm going to get myself up to speed and then get going. So I've gotten a decent amount done on the fashion fabric, the front. And I do still need to attach the other side front. So I'm going to work on that now. And I may kind of speed this up and play some music in the middle. You'll have to kind of bear with me on this. I've never done this format of a video. So I don't want to bore you guys. So if there's going to be like long periods where I'm just got my hands busy and I'm not chatting, then I'll go fast forward and play some music and maybe this will turn out, or maybe we'll never do this again. One other thing that's kind of slowing me down is normally I have my whole cutting table to work on, but since I haven't even cut my lining pieces out yet, the lining fabric's kind of all like spread out on the table because I didn't want it to wrinkle back up. So yeah, normally I would have that whole table section to lay my the pieces I'm working with out on. Makes for faster pinning because I can pin right like into the table, like the pins would like slide right across the wood of the table. And had to be extra careful because I was pinning on top of my ironing mat, so the pins kept wanting to get stuck into the mat. I'll be happy to get done with this project. So I'm over here at my sewing machine and let's carry on. So now I have my front finished. It's starting to look like something. Long way to go. All right, now I need to check my instructions. So what's next? Pressing, of course, and press those seams. And then we start on the lower back sections. Got my two back pieces pinned together, and I'm heading over to the sewing machine and get these stitched up. And in case you're wondering, sometimes I do sew over pins. I know we're not supposed to, but sometimes I think it's okay. With this fabric, it's so delicate, and I feel like it's pinned together kind of precariously. I feel like it's better just to sew right up to the pin, then pull the pin out and carry on like that. So I've got my two center back pieces of the skirt stitched together, and now it's time to stitch the side back pieces on. And while I'm ironing, I thought I would actually chat with you guys, which is what Friday Sews is all about. Yes, so other than not getting any sewing done all week, it was a pretty good week. We celebrated my father-in-law's birthday, so we went over to my in-laws' house, and that was really nice. Had Olive Garden, which was really good. If you have Olive Garden in your area and you love minestrone soup, be sure and check theirs out. I didn't know if I had ever had it before. That was my first time. It was so good, really good. And of course, breadsticks, as if I need more breadsticks. Anyway, and then we also, this past weekend, had some friends of ours over here, and we grilled out. We got a new grill recently. Our other one was probably 7 or 8 years old, and even though we keep it covered, it is outside for most of the year, and it gets exposed. So like the pan, like the cat's supposed to catch all the drippings or whatever, had been like rusting out over the years. And I know that my husband had made some repairs to it to try to, keep it hobbling along for as long as we could. It was just time. So we got a new grill, and we grilled out for our friends when they came over. So that was nice. And we grilled, we have done this several times before, grilled out the Beyond Burgers. Have you guys had those? They're so good. We can just find them either at Costco or at our regular grocery store. We love those. So I am primarily vegan. I do eat like dairy cheese occasionally, or if something's cooked with eggs in it and I'm away from home, like out at someone else's house, I'll eat that. But primarily vegetarian for sure, and even primarily vegan. My husband's not, nor are our friends that came over, but we all love the Beyond Burgers. They're so tasty. If you guys have been thinking about trying those, I'd say go ahead and try it. They have really, the Beyond Company has like nailed it. They're so good. So I'm going to do some more ironing and pinning, and I'll be back. You guys, when I went to iron the side back pieces of the skirt, I found that I hadn't even cut the notches, done any of the markings. Like, what was I thinking? And so all the pieces for the past 2 weeks or more have been like wadded up on my sewing table. So had to iron everything really good, put the tissue back on top of the pieces, make the markings, and then pin things together. I feel like this project has just been like one big hot mess from the beginning, and the way it seems like the rayon is kind of stretched out of shape a little bit because I've been kind of careless with it. We'll see. We'll see how this whole thing turns out. This might be a well. I'm gonna have the best hopes, and we'll see how it turns out. So off to the sewing machine. So I went ahead and stitched both of the side skirt pieces, back pieces to the center back of the skirt, and got my little opening here where the zipper will go, if you guys can see that. And the next step is to work on the back bodice, and there will be a dart in each side, the left and the right. And I'm really starting to wonder if this thing even needs a lining. There comes a point in a project like this where one questions if a lining is truly needed, because I don't really relish the thought of doing all this all over again for the lining. So I'm going to keep that possibility in mind of just skipping the lining altogether. It all just depends on how it drapes and if it's like opaque or not, if I'm satisfied with it. So I think once I get the whole thing assembled out of the fashion fabric, I'm gonna just reevaluate. Maybe I can just skip the lining. And yes, I do have like all of this this whole big length of white lining, but we can always use white lining for something, so that will not go to waste. And I am liking the way that it's coming together. I know this is the back, but just kind of holding it up, I think it's going to be very drapey, kind of swingy, and maybe, even after all is said and done, I'm going to love this dress. In fact, I did not trace this pattern. I just cut it directly out of the tissue, and thinking that this dress is really involved, I'm probably never going to make it twice. I'll be doing good to make it once, but if I love it, I might end up making it twice. Of course, if I stay the same size, I can reuse these pattern pieces. Okay, that's a problem for another day. I need to get this thing done. So I'm going to work on the bodice, and I will be back. I've got the bodice starts in, and I'll get those pressed to the center. Then these get attached to the skirt pieces, and I think at that point it's zipper time. I'm not sure. We'll get to that. Yeah, that's what it's looking like. So I've got the back bodice attached to the skirt, and it's starting to kind of look like something. So this is where the zipper will go, and that is the next step. So I am not going to have you guys watch me put a zipper in. It's bad enough having to put a zipper in, but it would be painful to have someone watch me put a zipper in. And I usually do my zippers by hand just because I feel like I do a better job than putting them in with the machine, even though I have like a zipper foot. And I used to install invisible zippers with the machine using the invisible zipper foot, and then I learned how to do them by hand, and actually I prefer that. I feel like they turn out much better, and I have a lot more control over the process. I think I saw or read that technique by Susan Calgi, either in one of her books or on a video or something, but once I learned how to do that, I never went back. Now I think if I was going to do like the zipper in like a jeans, like the fly front, I probably would do the zipper on the machine. And when I did my Simplicity jacket, the one that Pam and I did, that separating zipper, I did that one by machine. But for a fine, like a pair of trousers or a fine dress, I always will put the invisible zipper in by hand. And if you guys want to watch me do that at some point, I'm happy to show you how I do it. I'm not an expert or anything, but I think I'm done with this dress for today. So I'm going to get everything kind of tidied up and get this draping nicely on Gertrude. And then I'm going to sit down and actually chat with you guys for a little bit. So hang on. So I think that's enough sewing, at least for this morning. I'm still on my coffee. It's pretty early while I'm filming this, and I was off work today, so it's a good day to make some progress on that dress. And I appreciate you guys hanging out with me while I actually did sew, and taking the opportunity to use Friday sews to get that done. So they won't always be like this. I think this is kind of a rare thing, and for whatever reason, I feel like this whole project, even though I think it's going to be really a beautiful dress, I've had like a stumbling block in my mind about, like a mental block about it, and I'm not sure why. This is one of the first pieces of fabric that I bought when lockdown started a little over 2 years ago, and it was kind of a strange time in our life because we were living in our unfinished basement for a couple of months, or well, 5 or 6 weeks, and like it was the two of us and our dog, and we were kind of like cramped in like a little maybe 10 by 20 space because all of our, like a lot of our furniture and boxes were also crammed into the unfinished basement, and the space was it kind of dirty. Like we tried to clean it as best we could, but the whole basement was used as nothing but storage since we moved in the house. And one day we'll hope to refinish it, or and make it a living space. But it was a weird time in our lives, and I binged bought fabric big time as like a coping mechanism to deal with everything going on, and working from home. So we were both put on remote work from our jobs at that time. So we worked, slept, ate in that little probably 10 by 20 foot open space in the basement, and along with our poor little dog who didn't have a clue, like, why are we living here like this now? Where are all my creature comforts and everything like that? So we set up a bed in that space, like our spare bed, and we put her bed there and tried to make it as comfy as we could, and it was all worth it in the end. The reason we were doing that is because we were having all the floors in our house refinished or new floors installed. So it wasn't like it was some tragedy going on. It was all for a good purpose, and we're glad that we did it. But I think this fabric kind of takes me back to that time. And since then, we've lost our dog. She passed away last year, and I don't know if that's this. So this project has been like on my radar for a couple of years, and maybe if there's some of that like nostalgia or that sense of loss because we don't have her. I don't know. It's funny how certain things can kind of put us back in like a mental state that doesn't make us feel great. But I think the stress is going to be like worth all the headache in the end. But I will still be glad to move on to my next project. So all that to say, thank you guys for kind of letting me sew during Friday sews with you, and I hope it was interesting for you. Let me know. And if you're ever interested, we could do a sew along. I've never done one of those before, and I feel like I might have to do some changes in my studio a little bit as far as getting like some better lighting and maybe a better camera setup. By and large, I just use my iPhone to film my videos, and it does a pretty good job, but maybe I would need a better camera. I'm not sure, or some kind of like mechanism, like one of those bars that sits over the top of the table and kind of makes the camera point down so you could really see what the person is working on close up. So it could be a possibility. Let me know if you might be interested in that. And do you guys, or have you ever had one of these projects that it's just been like a hot mess, but you're determined to see it through, but it's like a grind, even though it's not particularly difficult, but for whatever reason the whole thing has just been a grind, and you'll just be glad to put it behind you and finally get to wear the thing. Yeah, so that's been this for me. So have you guys ever had projects like that? I'm guessing you probably have. I would think any kind of a maker, no matter whether they sew or they do woodworking, we've probably like all had that project, and maybe more than one in our time, depending on how long we've been, doing that particular hobby. And yeah, so do you have plans for the weekend? I am working a little bit tomorrow on Saturday at my job. And other than that, it's back to this dress. Now that I'm back in the game, I'm going to move right along. And yeah, probably tend to the garden. I've got my flowers, a lot of my flower seeds in now. And I have my first tomatoes on. So they're just tiny, like little bitty, and they're still green, of course, but they're on. So that's a good sign that things are moving in the right direction. And I'm not sure how long this video is going to turn out to be with all the editing and like speeding up some of the footage. So I don't want it to be overly long. So I'm probably going to go ahead and sign off now. And hope you guys have a good weekend. I hope you enjoyed this very unusual type of Friday sews. And other than that, hope you have a great weekend. Thanks for watching, and talk to you later.